The glass didn't just hit Maya, it exploded. Crystal shards ripped into her temple. Blood mixed with premium whiskey, burning down her cheek like acid. Her notepad hit the marble floor. Every fork in the Sterling room froze midair. Victoria Whitmore's scream tore through the silence. "Stay away from my fiancé, you desperate little." Maya's hand trembled, not from fear, from rage she'd been swallowing for 8 months. What the billionaire's drunk fiancé didn't know, this desperate waitress was a Harvard attorney who'd been building a federal case against her man, one recorded conversation at a time. What Maya didn't know, 40,000 people were watching this moment live. The phones were already out, recording everything. One of them would be in handcuffs within 72 hours. The other would burn a billion-dollar empire to the ground. But before I show you what Maya did next, the move that stopped every person in that restaurant cold, you need to understand how a top corporate lawyer ended up serving cocktails to Chicago's elite. 6 hours before the glass shattered, Maya Rodriguez had memorized 47 orders without writing a single word down. Table 12, Dover sole, no butter, lemon on the side. Allergy to shellfish, cross-contamination protocol required. Table 8, medium rare ribeye. But the client actually preferred medium. He just wouldn't admit it in front of his date. Table 15, the Macallan 25, 2 fingers, single ice sphere, served in the Glencairn glass because Mr. Patterson thought rocks glasses were pedestrian. Her hands moved with surgical precision through the dining room, her body operating on autopilot while her mind cataloged everything else. The way the CFO at Table 6 lowered his voice when discussing restructuring, corporate speak for mass layoffs. The contracts being signed at Table 9 without legal counsel present. The uncomfortable power dynamic at Table 18 where the older executive kept touching his young assistant's lower back. All of it went into the leather journal hidden in her locker. Dates, times, direct quotes when possible, witness names. The Sterling room smelled like old money and new secrets, truffle oil, aged cognac, and the particular musk of expensive cologne that cost more than her monthly rent. The temperature held steady at 68 degrees because men in $1,000 suits preferred cold. Maya's feet ached in the required 3-inch heels. Her face ached from smiling. She checked her phone during her 30-second bathroom break. Bank account, $2,847.18. Nursing home bill due in 6 days, $4,200. The math didn't work. It never worked. Her mother didn't even recognize her anymore. Alzheimer's had stolen everything except the occasional flash of memory, usually from Maya's childhood, back when her mother cleaned houses for families who never learned her name, back when invisible was just their reality, not a strategic choice. Rodriguez, Marcus, the floor manager, snapped his fingers like she was a dog. Table 7 just sat. VIP treatment. Don't screw this up. Maya's jaw tightened. Her hands didn't. Understood. I'll provide exemplary service as always. The precise language slipped out sometimes. For years at Harvard Law didn't disappear just because you traded a power suit for a uniform. Marcus's eyes narrowed. He hated when she talked fancy. But he said nothing. She smoothed her apron, grabbed 2 menu folders, and headed toward Table 7. Through the kitchen's reflection in the window, she caught her own face. Professional smile, tired eyes, and the small scar above her left eyebrow from the car accident that killed her father 20 years ago. A reminder that survival sometimes required becoming someone else entirely. She had no idea that Table 7 would be the end of everything she'd carefully built, or the beginning of something she'd been preparing for since the day Jonathan Ashford's company destroyed the only person who believed in her. Victoria Whitmore entered the Sterling room the way hurricanes make landfall, loud, chaotic, and leaving destruction in her wake. "This place is so last season," she announced to no one in particular, her voice carrying across the dining room like nails on marble. Designer sunglasses at 8 p.m. Hermes Birkin bag swinging dangerously close to a server's tray. Heels clicking an unsteady rhythm that said she'd started drinking hours ago. Behind her, Jonathan Ashford moved like a man attending his own funeral. Maya recognized him instantly. Chicago Magazine's 30 Under 30 cover 3 months running. Founder and CEO of Ashford Analytics, the data management company that had gone from startup to $2.3 billion valuation in 5 years. 32 years old. Tech genius. Philanthropist. The kind of successful that made people forget to ask how the success was built. And he looked miserable. Mr. Ashford, Ms. Whitmore, welcome back. Marcus materialized with the obsequious smile he reserved for the ultra-wealthy. Your usual table is prepared. May I offer champagne while you review the menu? Dom Perignon. Victoria waved her hand dismissively. The 2008, not that cheap 2012, they tried to serve us last time. Maya watched from her position near the bar. The valet who'd parked Victoria's Mercedes was still rubbing his wrist where she'd thrown her keys at him. The coat check girl had tears in her eyes. Victoria had called her stupid for taking longer than 10 seconds to retrieve her ticket. This woman left casualties everywhere she went. Jonathan pulled out Victoria's chair, his movements mechanical. His tailored Tom Ford suit probably cost $8,000. His Patek Philippe watch could pay Maya's mother's nursing home bill for a year. But his eyes, dark, exhausted, guilty. Those belonged to someone trapped. Jonathan, are you even listening? Victoria's voice pitched higher. I was talking about the Maldives. For the engagement party. Unless you'd rather keep working through our entire relationship. I'm listening, Victoria. The Maldives sound perfect. You said that about Bali too, then canceled 3 days before. She grabbed her phone, fingers flying across the screen. I swear, if you embarrass me again. Marcus appeared at Maya's elbow. Rodriguez, table 7 is yours. And please, for the love of God, don't do that thing where you act smarter than the customers. Just smile, serve, and be invisible. These people have spent $47,000 here in the last 3 months. Invisible. The word tasted like copper in her mouth. Maya approached table 7, professional smile locked in place. Good evening. My name is Maya, and I'll be taking care of you tonight. Can I start you with something to drink? Or would you prefer a few moments with the menu? Victoria didn't look up from her phone. Whiskey sour. Top shelf. And make it strong. God knows I need it. Jonathan finally looked at Maya directly. For a split second, something flickered across his face. Recognition? Confusion? Then it was gone, buried under layers of corporate composure. Just water for me. Still no ice. Thank you. He said thank you. To a waitress. Victoria's eyes snapped up, sharp and suspicious. Since when you drink water on Friday nights? Since I have a board meeting at 7 tomorrow morning. You always have meetings. Victoria's engagement ring, a flawless 10-carat diamond that could fund a small nonprofit, caught the light as she grabbed his hand. You always have somewhere else to be. The ring was beautiful. The grip was possessive. Maya committed every detail to memory and headed toward the bar, unaware that she'd return to table 7 in exactly 8 minutes, and nothing would ever be the same. Victoria's whiskey sour sat on Maya's tray, golden liquid perfectly chilled, garnish precisely placed. She'd made it exactly to specification. Top shelf maker's mark. Fresh lemon juice. Handcrafted simple syrup. The kind of attention to detail that kept people employed at places like the Sterling Room. Maya approached table 7 just as Victoria leaned across the table, voice venomous. Don't lie to me, Jonathan. I saw how she looked at you. Victoria, you're drunk. Please. Oh, I'm drunk? That's your defense. She laughed, sharp and bitter. Maybe I wouldn't drink so much if my fiancé wasn't screwing his employees. I'm not, that's not. Jonathan's face flushed. We've been through this. There's no one else. Maya should have walked away, should have given them privacy, but she'd already been seen, and backing away now would only draw more attention. Your whiskey sour, ma'am. Maya placed the glass on the table with practiced precision. And your water, sir. Can I? You. Victoria's eyes locked onto Maya, like a predator spotting prey. How long have you been standing there? I just arrived with your drinks. Is there something? Did he smile at you? Victoria stood abruptly, chair scraping against marble. Several nearby tables turned to watch. When you took his order earlier, did he smile at you? Maya's pulse kicked up. Stay calm. Stay professional. Ma'am, I assure you I was simply. Don't you, mammy? I see the way you sluts operate. All sweet and professional. Pretending you're not making eyes at other women's men. Victoria grabbed her glass, liquid sloshing. Girls like you think you're so clever. Victoria, sit down. Jonathan's voice carried warning. You're making a scene. I'm making a scene? She's the one trying to seduce my fiancée. Maya's hands went still, completely still. This moment, this exact moment, was a choice. She could smile, apologize for whatever imagined offense existed in Victoria's paranoid, alcohol-soaked mind. Bow her head, accept the humiliation, keep the job, pay the nursing home bill, stay invisible. Or, ma'am, I understand you're upset, but I need to inform you that making false accusations against staff constitutes harassment under Illinois employment law. The glass hit her temple before she finished the sentence. Pain exploded white-hot across Maya's face. Crystal shattered. Whiskey burned into the cut, into her eyes. The world tilted. Her notepad clattered to the floor. Time stretched, sound distorting into a hollow echo. The entire restaurant went silent. Blood ran hot down Maya's cheek. She could feel it. Sticky, mixing with alcohol, dripping onto her white uniform collar. Her vision blurred. Her hands trembled. Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, to disappear. But something else uncoiled in her chest. Something ancient and righteous that had been building for 8 months. For 18 months. For her entire life, watching powerful people brutalize those they deemed beneath them. Maya straightened, wiped the blood from her face with her sleeve. When she spoke, her voice didn't shake. It cut. That's assault and battery under Illinois Criminal Code 720 ILCS 5/12-3, in the presence of approximately 47 witnesses, several of whom are currently recording this incident on their mobile devices. She turned slowly, deliberately, making eye contact with the frozen diners, holding up phones. Thank you for that documentation, by the way. Victoria's face went white. Jonathan stood frozen, mouth open, eyes locked on Maya like he was seeing her for the first time. Maya continued, calm as a surgeon making an incision. The crystal glass caused a laceration requiring medical attention. That elevates the charge to aggravated battery. The manager witnessed the incident, establishing employer liability. And I've documented every interaction at this table tonight, including your prior verbal harassment. She pulled out her phone with steady hands. I'm now photographing my injuries for evidence. Please remain seated while I contact the authorities. You can't, Victoria sputtered. Do you know who we are? Maya's eyes harbored sharp, attorney cold, fixed on Victoria like a scalpel finding flesh. Do you know who I am? The question hung in the air. Jonathan's face transformed from shock to recognition to something close to horror. He knew. Somehow, possibly, he knew. Victoria lunged forward. Jonathan, do something. Fire her. Call our lawyer. I want her arrested for... Victoria. Jonathan's voice came out strangled. Stop talking. Right now. But Victoria was past listening. She assaulted me. Look at her. She's threatening us. Someone call security. Marcus came running from across the restaurant. Phone to his ear, face panicked. Other servers backed away. Customers whispered behind hands. The moment crystallized, suspended. Everything balanced on whatever happened next. Maya stood in the center of it all, bleeding and absolutely certain. She just crossed a line there was no coming back from. And for the first time in 18 months, she felt like herself. Marcus grabbed Maya's arm, pulling her away from table 7. His grip was tight, angry. Office. Now, I need to photograph my injuries first. Chain of custody for evidence. I said no. He practically dragged her through the kitchen, past wide-eyed line cooks and dishwashers, into his cramped office that smelled like stale coffee and desperation. The door slammed. Marcus rounded on her, face red. Are you insane? That's Victoria Whitmore. Do you understand what you've done? She committed assault. I responded appropriately. You threatened our most valuable clients. Marcus paced like a caged animal. Her fiancé's company spent $47,000 here in 3 months. $47,000. And you just, with your lawyer talk, he stopped, eyes narrowing. Wait, how do you know legal terminology? Maya said nothing. Blood still dripped down her face. The cut throbbed in rhythm with her heartbeat. You're done. Finished. I want you to apologize to Ms. Whitmore, or I'm firing you on the spot. No. Excuse me. I said no. Maya pulled out her phone, showed him the photos she'd taken. I have documentation of the assault, multiple witnesses, and you're currently violating Illinois whistleblower protection statutes by threatening termination in response to my reporting a crime. Marcus's mouth opened and closed. For once he had no response. A knock on the door. Jonathan Ashford stood in the doorway, Victoria behind him, tears streaming down her face in a performance worthy of an Oscar. She attacked me, Victoria wailed. I was just defending myself when she got aggressive. Stop. Jonathan's voice was ice. He wasn't looking at Victoria. He was staring at Maya like she was a ghost. Just stop. Baby, you have to handle this. How long have you been working here? Jonathan asked Maya directly. 18 months. Something clicked behind his eyes. Horror. Realization. You're Dr. Maya Rodriguez. Harvard Law. 2019. You worked at Brennan and Associates until he stopped. His face went pale. Oh God. Until my company. Until your company destroyed my mentor with false testimony and fabricated evidence. Yes. Maya's voice stayed level. Surgical. Richard Brennan. He was 58 years old when you ruined his reputation. He killed himself 6 weeks later. The office went dead silent. Victoria looked between them, confused. Jonathan, what is she talking about? But Jonathan couldn't speak. He just stared at Maya, understanding flooding his features like a dam breaking. I've been gathering evidence, Maya said quietly. 47 witness statements from your former employees. Documentation of systematic discrimination, wrongful termination, and corporate fraud. I filed with the EEOC yesterday. The Illinois Attorney General's office has everything as of this morning. You, Jonathan's voice broke. You've been here this whole time, watching, documenting, using us. Using it. Maya's composure finally cracked. You destroyed a good man because he discovered your company's illegal data harvesting scheme. You paid witnesses to lie. You buried evidence. And you did it all from the comfort of table 7 while I served you wine and pretended to be invisible. Marcus backed away slowly, realizing he'd walked into something far bigger than a customer dispute. Victoria's voice came out small, uncertain for the first time. Jonathan, what is she saying? Before anyone could answer, Rosa, the elderly server who'd worked at the Sterling Room for 30 years, appeared in the doorway. I saw everything, Rosa said firmly, her Spanish accent thick with conviction. The woman through the glass. Maya did nothing wrong, and I'm prepared to testify. Maya's eyes met Rosa's. Alliance. Solidarity. So, Maya said, turning back to Marcus. Would you like me to apologize? Or would you like to avoid being named as a co-defendant in my lawsuit for creating a hostile work environment that enabled assault? Now here's what I need from you before we continue. Would you have stayed silent to keep your job, or spoken up knowing it might cost you everything? Your answer says everything about how you navigate power when you're not holding it. Drop your choice in the comments below. And make sure you're subscribed, because what happens in the next 10 minutes, when Jonathan realizes the full extent of what Maya has been building, it's calculated, devastating, and completely changes who you think the real villain is in this story. The truth is, Maya recognized Jonathan the moment he walked through the door 18 months ago. But there's something she didn't know about him. Something that will make you question everything you've heard so far. 3 days after the glass, the bruise on Maya's temple had turned a deep purple yellow, impossible to cover with makeup. She sat in Rosa's tiny apartment in Pilsen, the smell of cafe con leche filling the cramped kitchen. Rosa had called her at 6 a.m., voice urgent. Mija, we need to talk. Not at the restaurant. Here. Now Rosa slid a manila folder across the scratched Formica table. I've been at the Sterling Room for 30 years, Rosa said, her weathered hand steady. I see everything. I hear everything. And I remember a name I heard 3 years ago. She tapped the folder. Richard Brennan, your mentor. Maya's breath caught. How did you? Table 7. October 2022. Jonathan Ashford was there with his father. Before the old man died, they were celebrating. Rosa's eyes hardened. Celebrating destroying some lawyer who discovered their data scheme. They used the name, laughed about how easy it was to buy testimony. The room tilted. Maya gripped the table edge. His father? The words came out strangled. Jonathan wasn't running the company then. He was VP, learning the family business. But his father, Charles Ashford, that man was evil, pure evil. Rosa opened the folder. Inside, names, dates, photographs. After that night, I started keeping records. Women fired for refusing advances. Employees terminated after reporting discrimination. NDAs signed under threat. 47 people in 3 years, Maya. 47. Maya's hands shook as she flipped through the documentation. Why didn't you come forward? Come forward to who? Charles Ashford owned half the city. Judges, politicians, media. Who would listen to an old waitress? Rosa's voice cracked. But you're different. You have the law degree, the knowledge. You can do what I couldn't. Maya pulled out her own leather journal, years of meticulous notes, conversations overheard, business deals discussed, illegal strategies planned over $200 stakes. She'd been building the case for 8 months before Victoria threw that glass, using the Sterling Room as her surveillance post. I recorded 17 executives, Maya said quietly. Illinois is a 2-party consent state. But there's an exception for workplace harassment documentation. Every conversation where they discussed discriminatory practices, retaliation, fraud. It's all admissible. Does Jonathan know about your mentor? He figured out. I saw it in his eyes. Maya touched the bruise on her temple. But here's what I don't understand. If his father ran the scheme, why is Jonathan still covering it up? Charles died 18 months ago. Jonathan could have cleaned house, made restitution. Instead, he maintained silence. Rosa poured more coffee, her expression troubled. Maybe he didn't know the full extent. Or maybe he's exactly like his father. Maya's voice went cold. Either way, 47 people deserve justice. Richard deserves justice. And I'm going to make sure they get it. She had submitted everything to the EEOC Friday morning. The Illinois Attorney General's office received copies Saturday. By Monday, the investigation would be official. Jonathan's billion-dollar empire would face the reckoning it should have faced 3 years ago. What will you do if they come after you? Rosa asked. Men like that, they destroy people who threaten them. Maya thought of her mother in the nursing home, memory stolen by disease. Her father, dead in a car accident when she was 12. Richard Brennan, brilliant and broken, choosing death over shame. All the invisible people crushed beneath the wheels of unchecked power. Let them try, she said. I've got nothing left to lose. But that wasn't quite true. She still had her mother's care to pay for, still had rent due, still had the small, stubborn hope that the legal system she'd spent 4 years studying actually meant something. Rosa squeezed her hand. You're not alone in this, Mija. Whatever happens, I'm your witness. They can't silence both of us. Maya looked at the elderly woman who'd worked invisible jobs her entire life, who'd documented injustice in the margins of order tickets, who'd waited 30 years for someone to care. Thank you, Maya whispered, for seeing, for remembering. Someone has to. Rosa smiled, sad and fierce. Now go, build your case, make them pay. The same morning, Ashford Analytics headquarters. Jonathan stared at the private investigator's report, coffee going cold in his hand. Dr. Maya Elena Rodriguez, Harvard Law School, class of 2019, magna cum laude associate attorney, Brennan and Associates, 2019-2022 career status. INA Cita current employment. Server, the Sterling Room Notable. Mentored by Richard Brennan, deceased, 2022. The name hit him like a fist to the gut. Richard Brennan. Jonathan remembered that case. His father had been obsessed with it, paranoid that Brennan had discovered something damaging. Charles Ashford had spent $400,000 on legal fees, hired witnesses, buried evidence under layers of NDAs and shell companies. It's just business, his father had said. Sometimes you have to break a few lawyers to protect the empire. Jonathan had been VP then. He'd signed papers his father put in front of him, trusted that the old man knew what he was doing, never asked questions he should have asked. And now Richard Brennan's protege had been serving him wine for 18 months while building a case that could destroy everything. Jesus Christ, he muttered. His office door opened. David Kim, his business partner and the company's CFO, walked in without knocking. We need to talk about the EEOC complaint. You saw it? Legal forwarded it this morning. Jonathan, it's bad. 47 witness statements, recorded conversations, documentary evidence spanning 3 years. David sat down heavily. She's alleging systematic discrimination, wrongful termination, retaliation, and this is the worst part, criminal data harvesting. My father. Your father built this company on illegal practices. David's voice was blunt. We both know it. I've been telling you for 18 months to clean house, to audit everything, to make restitution. You said you were handling it. I've been quietly settling cases, restructuring departments, implementing new protocols. Quietly isn't enough. David stood, pacing. You wanted to protect your father's legacy. I get it. But Charles Ashford's legacy is toxic. And now this woman, this incredibly smart, patient woman, has documented everything. Jonathan's mind raced. Maya's face across table 7. The way she'd spoken legal terminology with perfect precision. The calm in her eyes when Victoria attacked her. She hadn't been scared. She'd been ready, waiting. Richard Brennan killed himself, Jonathan said quietly, 6 weeks after we destroyed his reputation. We didn't. Your father did. I signed the documents, David. I authorized the payments to the witnesses. I was complicit. The guilt he'd been swallowing for 3 years rose like bile. And now his protege has been watching me, gathering evidence, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. What are you going to do? Jonathan looked at the investigator's report again. Maya's graduation photo stared back at him, younger, hopeful, standing next to an older man with kind eyes. Richard Brennan, presumably. Both of them smiling like they believed the legal system protected good people. His father had taught him that power meant never apologizing, never admitting fault, crushing opposition before it could take root. But his father was dead, and the empire he'd built was poisoned from the foundation up. "I'm going to talk to her," Jonathan said. "That's insane. Legal will lose their minds. Anything you say can be used." "I know." Jonathan stood, grabbed his jacket. "But she deserves to hear the truth about what really happened, about what my father did, about what I didn't know and what I should have known." He paused at the door. "And then I'm going to help her tear this company apart and rebuild it the right way." "Jonathan, my father destroyed a good man, drove him to suicide, and I helped, even if I didn't fully understand what I was doing." His voice cracked. 47 people, David. 47 lives ruined, while I signed papers and cashed checks. That ends now. David stared at him. "Your board will remove you." "Then they remove me. Some things matter more than money." He left before David could argue. The investigator's report burning in his hand. He had Maya's address, her phone number, every detail of her invisible life laid bare by a man paid to invade privacy. The irony wasn't lost on him. Maya Rodriguez had been hunting him for 8 months, but now driving through Chicago morning traffic toward her apartment, Jonathan realized something that made his hands tighten on the steering wheel. He wanted her to win. Tuesday afternoon, the Sterling Room. Victoria's Instagram Live went active at exactly 1:47 p.m. "Hey, beauties. So, some of you saw my story from Friday night, the incident at dinner." Victoria's voice dripped with performative vulnerability as she walked to the Sterling Room's entrance. Phone held high. "Well, today I'm doing something really hard. I'm going back to make peace." Behind her, 6 socialites followed like a designer-clad army. Madison, Brittany, the 2 Ashleys, Kendall, each one perfectly styled, perfectly manicured, perfectly ready to watch Victoria reassert her dominance over the help. 43,000 people were watching live. Marcus nearly dropped his reservation book when he saw them. "Ms. Whitmore, we weren't expecting." Reservation for 7. Now, Victoria didn't break her smile for the camera. "It's fine, everyone. The manager is being so accommodating." Maya watched from behind the bar, her stomach nodding. She'd come in for her shift despite everything, despite the lawyers telling her to stay away, because she couldn't afford to miss work. The nursing home had called twice already about her mother's overdue payment. Rosa appeared at her elbow. "Don't engage. Whatever she's planning, don't give her what she wants. I'm just here to work." "Mija, that woman is streaming. This is a setup." Maya knew. Of course she knew. But she also knew that running would look like guilt, and she'd done nothing wrong. Victoria and her entourage took table 7, the same table, deliberately chosen. Marcus assigned Maya to serve him. Of course he did. The man had the survival instincts of a lemming running toward a cliff. Maya approached with menus, her face professionally neutral. "Good afternoon. Can I start you with—" "Oh my God, it's her." Victoria's voice carried across the entire restaurant. "Hi, sweetie. I'm so glad you're working today. I want to talk to you about what happened." The phone camera swiveled to capture Maya's face. 43,000 strangers watched. "Ma'am, I'm happy to take your order." No, we need to clear the air first." Victoria stood, moving closer, phone capturing everything. "See, I was really drunk Friday night. Like really drunk. And I may have overreacted when I thought you were flirting with my fiancée." Her friends giggled on cue. The restaurant had gone silent. "I wasn't flirting with anyone. I was doing my job." "Right? Exactly. See, that's what Jonathan said too." Victoria's smile was razor sharp. "So here's what I want to do. I want to give you a chance to apologize for making me uncomfortable. And then we can all move on. Fresh start." Maya's jaw tightened. "I have nothing to apologize for." "Oh, come on. Don't be proud." Victoria reached into her Birkin bag, pulled out $500 bills, and held them up for the camera. "Look, I know you probably need this, right? Server wages are terrible. So here's $500. All you have to do is say you're sorry for the misunderstanding and we're good. The socialites filmed from multiple angles. The live stream chat exploded with comments. Several other diners had their phones out now, capturing the spectacle. This was calculated, public, designed to humiliate. Maya felt the rage building. The same rage that had been coiling in her chest for 8 months, for 3 years, for every invisible worker who'd ever been treated like they were nothing. Ms. Whitmore, Maya said clearly, I don't need your money. What I need is for you to understand something. She pulled out her phone, opened a PDF, and began reading from it loud enough for everyone, including the cameras, to hear. Victoria and Whitmore, 3 DUI arrests, 2021 through 2023. All charges mysteriously dropped after Ashford Analytics legal team intervened. 2 incidents of assault against service workers. Starbucks barista March 2022. Valet attendant November 2023. Both cases settled privately for a combined $340,000 to avoid criminal prosecution. Victoria's smile froze. What are you? You've assaulted at least 6 service workers in the past 3 years. Your fiancé's company has paid over $500,000 in settlement agreements to keep your violence quiet. You're not a victim, Ms. Whitmore. You're a serial abuser who targets people you think can't fight back. The restaurant erupted. Gasps, murmurs. The Instagram live chat went absolutely insane. That's slander. Victoria shrieked. You can't. That's private information. Public record. The DUI arrests are documented. The settlement agreements were filed with the court. Maya pulled out more papers. I also have statements from 3 of your victims willing to go on record about the pattern of abuse. Madison stood up. Victoria, what is she talking about? She's lying. She's a crazy. I'm an attorney. Maya's voice cut through Victoria's hysteria like a scalpel. Dr. Maya Rodriguez, Harvard Law School, and I filed assault charges against you Friday night with the Chicago Police Department. The detective handling your case is very interested in your history of similar incidents. Victoria went pale. Her phone slipped in her shaking hand. 47,000 people watched her carefully constructed image crumble in real time. Rosa stepped forward from her position near the kitchen. I witnessed the assault. I've given my statement to the police. That woman threw a glass at Maya's head, cut her open, and then tried to have her arrested. Another server spoke up. She called me stupid and worthless 3 times last month. The host from the front desk. She threw car keys at our valet so hard he had bruises. One by one, the Sterling Room's staff stepped forward. Years of swallowed abuse finding voice. Marcus looked like he wanted to sink through the floor. Jonathan Ashford walked through the front door at that exact moment. David Kim beside him. He took the scene. Victoria surrounded by cameras, Maya standing firm. The staff united behind her, and his face went through a dozen emotions in 3 seconds. Victoria, he said quietly, we need to talk. Outside. Now. Jonathan, baby, she's lying. She's trying to ruin us. I've seen the settlement agreements. I've seen the police reports, and I'm done covering for you. He looked at Maya, something like respect in his eyes. Ms. Rodriguez, I apologize for my fiancé's behavior and for my company's role in enabling it. Victoria grabbed his arm. What are you doing? I'm choosing right over easy. He gently removed her hand, something I should have done 3 years ago. The engagement is over, Victoria, and I've instructed our legal team to stop blocking the investigation into your assaults. The Instagram Live ended abruptly as Victoria's shaking hand dropped the phone. Maya stood in the center of the dining room, surrounded by witnesses, backed by the invisible army that had finally found their voice, and looked at Jonathan Ashford, the man whose empire she'd come to destroy. and saw something unexpected. And maybe, possibly, or another trap. Security is calling the police, Marcus said weakly. Ms. Whitmore, I'm going to have to ask you to leave. Victoria looked around at the faces, staff, customers, her own friends backing away, and realized she'd lost. Completely, publicly, irrevocably. She ran. Her socialite entourage followed, heels clicking frantically across marble, leaving behind the $500 bills scattered on table 7 like evidence of crime. Maya picked up one bill, held it up. This goes to the Staff Relief Fund for workers dealing with customer harassment. All in favor? Every server's hand went up. The restaurant broke into spontaneous applause. Thursday, 2:47 a.m., A.L.'s Diner. The termination letter sat on the Formica table, coffee-stained and final. Due to violations of company policy regarding customer relations, your employment at the Sterling Room is terminated effective immediately. Marcus had fired her Wednesday afternoon. No severance, no final check, just a cardboard box with her locker contents and orders to leave through the kitchen so customers wouldn't see. Maya's phone buzzed. Another text from her landlord. Notice of eviction proceedings. Your lease guarantor, Ashford Properties, LLC, has withdrawn support. 30 days to vacate. Ashford Properties. Of course. Jonathan's company had tentacles everywhere. Then the nursing home. Final notice. Payment of $4,200 required by Friday, or we must discharge your mother to state care. State care. The understaffed, underfunded facility where patients sat in their own waste for hours, where her mother would die confused and alone. Maya's hands shook as she counted the cash in her wallet for the third time. $247. Her bank account, negative $18 after the overdraft fees. Al, the diner's night manager, refilled her coffee without asking. He'd been doing it for 4 hours now, since she'd stumbled in at 11 p.m. with nowhere else to go. Her leather journal lay open beside the termination letter. 3 years of work, 8 months of strategic documentation, 47 witness statements, recordings, evidence. A case that should have been unbeatable. But she'd forgotten the fundamental rule. The powerful don't play fair. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Dr. Rodriguez? A woman's voice, professional. This is Detective Sarah Chin, Chicago PD. I'm calling about your assault complaint against Victoria Whitmore. Maya's heart leapt. Yes. The charges have been dropped. State's attorney's office declined to prosecute. Insufficient evidence. Insufficient. I have 47 witnesses. Photos of my injuries. Video footage. Ms. Whitmore's legal team submitted medical records showing she has a documented anxiety disorder and was under extreme stress. They're claiming the incident was an accident during a panic attack. The video footage is apparently inconclusive about intent. Money. Jonathan's money. Buying the outcome Victoria needed. I see. I'm sorry, Dr. Rodriguez. For what it's worth, I believe you. But my hands are tied. The detective paused. Be careful. People with that kind of resources, they protect themselves. The call ended. Maya stared at her reflection in the diner's dark window. 32 years old. Brilliant, career destroyed. Mentor dead. Mother dying. And for what? Justice? The law she'd devoted her life to had just proven itself a commodity purchasable by the wealthy. She thought about Richard Brennan, her mentor, the man who taught her that legal expertise was a weapon the powerless could wield against the powerful. He believed that so completely, right up until Ashford Analytics buried him under false testimony and manufactured evidence. Richard had called her the night before he died. She'd been in court, missed the call. His voicemail still lived in her phone. Maya, I just wanted to say, if something happens to me, know that I'm proud of you. You're going to be a better lawyer than I ever was. You'll fight for people who can't fight for themselves. Don't let them break you. Don't let them make you invisible. She'd found him 2 days later. Pills, a bottle of whiskey, and a note apologizing for being weak. He wasn't weak. He was destroyed by a system designed to protect people like Charles Ashford. And now that same system was destroying her. Maya pulled out her phone, opened her email. The draft to her EEOC contact sat there, ready to send. I'm withdrawing my complaint. Please close the case. One click. That's all it would take. Withdraw the complaint. Disappear. Find another city, another identity, another invisible job. Let the 47 other victims stay silent. Let Richard stay dead and forgotten. Let the powerful keep winning, because that's what they always did. Her finger hovered over send. More coffee. Al appeared with the pot, his weathered face kind. I can't pay for what I've already had. Did I ask you to? He poured anyway. Whatever you're dealing with, don't make permanent decisions at 3 a.m. World looks different in daylight. Maya laughed, bitter. Does it? Usually not, but at least you'll be less tired. Al nodded at her journal. You a writer? Might have been. I don't know anymore. Well, whatever story you're writing seems important. You've been staring at it like it's the only thing keeping you alive. He walked away, leaving her with the coffee and the observation. Maya looked at her journal. 3 years of meticulous documentation. Richard's voice in every page. Don't let them make you invisible. She thought about her mother, who'd cleaned houses for families that never learned her name, who'd scrubbed toilets and been paid in cash under the table with no benefits, no dignity, no recourse when she was mistreated. She thought about Rosa, documenting injustice for 30 years, waiting for someone with power to care. She thought about the 47 employees Jonathan's company had chewed up and thrown away. People with families, dreams, dignity stolen by NDAs and legal threats. And she thought about Richard, choosing death over fighting a system that had proven itself corrupt. Maya deleted the draft email, opened a new one. Attorney Lisa Chin, I need your help. Are you still willing to take corporate cases on contingency? She hit send before fear could stop her, then opened her journal and began writing, scene by scene, evidence by evidence, building the case that would either vindicate Richard's faith in her or destroy what little she had left. Outside, Chicago's night sky began lightening toward dawn. Al brought her pancakes she hadn't ordered and didn't argue when she said she couldn't pay. Some people, Maya thought, still believed invisible people deserved to be seen. That had to mean something. It had to mean enough to keep fighting. Friday morning, Lisa Chen's law office. Lisa Chen looked like she'd stepped out of a recruitment poster for badass attorneys. Sharp suit, sharper eyes, reputation for taking on corporate giants and winning. 47 witness statements. Lisa spread Maya's evidence across her conference table. Recorded conversations documenting discriminatory practices. Timeline of wrongful terminations. And this is the nuclear option. Proof that Ashford Analytics maintained illegal data harvesting operations for 3 years. Maya sat across from her, exhausted but determined. Lisa had been 2 years ahead of her at Harvard. They'd worked together on a civil rights case during Maya's 2L year. When the email came through at 3 a.m., Lisa had responded in 6 minutes. Get to my office at 9 a.m. Bring everything. The EEOC complaint is still active, Lisa continued. But we're going to supplement it with a civil RICO claim. Racketeering, pattern of illegal activity conducted through corporate structure. Jonathan Ashford will bury us in motions. Let him try. Lisa smiled, dangerous. I've been waiting 3 years for a case big enough to go after a company like this. And you've handed me a gift-wrapped thermonuclear device. I lost my job, my apartment. I can't pay you. Contingency. 40% of whatever we win, if we win. Lisa locked eyes with her. But Maya, you need to understand. They will come after you. Personally. Professionally, they'll investigate every corner of your life looking for something to discredit you with. They already destroyed Richard. They can't do worse to me than they've already done. Yes, Lisa said quietly. They can. Are you prepared for that? Maya thought of her mother in the nursing home, Rosa's 30 years of documentation, Richard's last voicemail, the invisible army waiting for someone to fight. I'm prepared. Good. Lisa pulled out her phone. Because I'm filing the amended complaint today. And on Monday, Jonathan Ashford is going to receive a subpoena for every document his company has produced in the last 5 years. Now, before we continue to the final confrontation, I need to ask you something. Maya's plan could destroy Ashford Analytics completely. Thousands of employees could lose their jobs. Is that justice or just revenge? Drop your honest answer below. And here's what you need to know. What happens in the next act, the courtroom confrontation, the revelation about who really ran the legal schemes, and the twist about Jonathan's role. It will make you question everything you think you know about this story. Make sure you're subscribed, because we're approaching the moment when Maya and Jonathan finally face each other with all the cards on the table. And what gets revealed? It changes everything. The truth about Jonathan Ashford isn't what you think. And Maya is about to discover that destroying him means destroying the one person who might actually be on her side. Monday, Cook County Courthouse, Mediation Room 4. The mediation room smelled like stale coffee and broken dreams. Maya sat on one side of the long oak table, Lisa Chen beside her, their evidence folders stacked like ammunition. Across from them, Jonathan Ashford, flanked by 3 attorneys in suits that cost more than most people's monthly rent. Victoria wasn't there. Her lawyer had sent notification that she'd be participating via video link due to ongoing medical treatment for anxiety. The mediator, Judge Patricia Holbrook, had seen 1,000 corporate disputes. Her face revealed nothing as she reviewed the case summary. Before we begin formal mediation, Judge Holbrook said, I'm going to give each party a chance to explain their position. Ms. Rodriguez, you filed this action. Please proceed. Maya stood. Her hands didn't shake. Not anymore. My name is Dr. Maya Elena Rodriguez, Harvard Law School, class of 2019. For 3 years, I've been investigating Ashford Analytics for systematic civil rights violations, wrongful termination, and corporate fraud. She placed a photograph on the table. This is Richard Brennan. He was my mentor, my friend, and one of the best attorneys I've ever known. Jonathan's face went pale. In October 2022, Mr. Brennan discovered that Ashford Analytics was harvesting user data illegally and selling it to third parties without consent. When he attempted to file suit on behalf of affected users, Ashford Analytics launched a coordinated campaign to destroy his reputation. They paid witnesses to provide false testimony. They fabricated evidence of ethical violations. They used their media connections to paint him as incompetent. Maya's voice stayed level surgical. Richard Brennan killed himself on December 3rd, 2022. He was 58 years old. His suicide note apologized for being too weak to fight people with unlimited resources. The room went silent. I went undercover as a waitress at the Sterling Room because it's where Ashford Analytics executives conduct business. For 18 months, I documented conversations, gathered witness statements from 47 former employees, and built an evidentiary case proving a pattern of illegal activity spanning 5 years. She looked directly at Jonathan. I came to destroy the company that killed my mentor. That's my position. Judge Holbrook turned to Jonathan. Mr. Ashford? Jonathan stood slowly. His expensive lawyers tried to stop him, but he waved them off. Everything Dr. Rodriguez said is true. His voice cracked. My father, Charles Ashford, built this company on illegal practices. I was VP then. I signed documents he put in front of me. I trusted him. I didn't ask the questions I should have asked. His lead attorney grabbed his arm. Jonathan, don't. I'm done lying. He pulled away. My father died 18 months ago. I inherited a company poisoned from the foundation up. I've spent those 18 months trying to clean it up quietly, settling cases, firing the executives who were complicit, implementing new protocols. But I didn't go public because I was trying to protect his legacy. He looked at Maya. I was wrong. Some legacies deserve to die. Maya's certainty wavered. This wasn't the villain she'd expected. If you were reforming the company, Lisa interjected, why did you continue covering up Victoria Whitmore's assaults? Why did you use your legal team to intimidate victims? I didn't. Jonathan pulled out his phone, scrolled, and projected documents onto the screen. Victoria had access to my father's files. She'd been his executive assistant for 6 years before I inherited the company. I thought she was helping me with the transition, but she was actually. The door burst open. 2 FBI agents entered, followed by Detective Chun and a federal prosecutor Maya recognized from the news. Jonathan Ashford? The lead agent held up credentials. We have a warrant for the arrest of Victoria and Whitmore for embezzlement, fraud, and obstruction of justice. We need you to come with us. What? Jonathan stood. Victoria embezzled. $43 million over 6 years, the prosecutor said. Your father knew. He was covering for her because she had evidence of his illegal data operations, mutually assured destruction. When he died, she continued the scheme using your company credentials. The video screen flickered on. Victoria appeared, but something was wrong. She wasn't in a hospital or home. She was in what looked like an airport terminal. Hello, Jonathan. Victoria's smile was cold, triumphant. By the time you see this, I'll be in a country with no extradition treaty. I've been moving money for 3 years, planning my exit. Your father was a useful idiot. You were even easier. Victoria. Oh, and Maya? Victoria's eyes found the camera. Your mentor didn't kill himself because of legal pressure. He killed himself because I sent him fabricated evidence that his daughter was involved in the fraud scheme. I made him think protecting her meant staying silent. That guilt? That's what killed him, not your precious justice system. The screen went black. Maya couldn't breathe, couldn't think. The room spun. Lisa grabbed her arm. Maya, that's not. She's lying to hurt you. His daughter lives in Portland, Maya whispered. She's a teacher. Richard was protecting her from something that never existed. The cruelty was breathtaking, surgical. Victoria hadn't just destroyed Richard professionally. She'd poisoned his final days with a lie designed to isolate him from the one person who might have talked him down. We have Ms. Whitmore's location. The FBI agent said into his phone. Intercepting now at O'Hare International. Jonathan sank into his chair, face in his hands. My God, she had access to everything. Every file, every account. I thought she was helping me clean up my father's mess. She was the architect the entire time. Judge Holbrook's expression finally showed emotion. Disgust. This mediation is suspended pending criminal investigation. Mr. Ashford, you're going to need to provide full access to your company's records. He'll cooperate fully, Jonathan's attorney said quickly. I'll do more than cooperate. Jonathan looked at Maya, his eyes raw. Dr. Rodriguez, you came to destroy my company. I'm going to help you. Not because you're forcing me, because it's the right thing to do. My father built an empire on broken people. Victoria weaponized it. And I enabled both of them through ignorance and cowardice. He stood, addressed the room formally. Effective immediately. I'm stepping down as CEO of Ashford Analytics. I'm establishing a $50 million victim compensation fund for everyone harmed by our practices. And I'm turning over every document, every file, every piece of evidence needed to prosecute everyone involved in these schemes. His lawyers erupted in protest. Maya stared at him, trying to reconcile the man in front of her with the villain she'd been hunting. He wasn't innocent. He'd signed those documents, enabled the cover-up through willful ignorance. But he wasn't the monster either. The truth, as always, was more complicated than revenge fantasies allowed. Richard deserves vindication, Maya said quietly. All 47 victims deserve justice. That's all I want. Then that's what we'll deliver, Jonathan said. Together, if you'll let me help. 3 weeks later, the Chicago Tribune headline took up the entire front page. Tech heiress arrested. $43 million embezzlement scheme exposed. Victoria Whitmore had been arrested at O'Hare attempting to board a flight to Dubai. Federal prosecutors filed 17 counts of fraud, embezzlement, obstruction of justice, and racketeering. Her bail was set at $10 million. Even her family's lawyers couldn't spin their way out of the documented evidence. But the bigger story ran on page 2. Ashford Analytics CEO steps down, pledges $50 million TO victims. Jonathan hadn't just resigned. He'd testified before a federal grand jury, provided unrestricted access to 5 years of company records, named every executive who'd participated in the illegal schemes, waived attorney-client privilege to expose the truth. 12 executives were terminated for faced criminal charges. The company's board was completely restructured under federal oversight, and Richard Brennan's name was cleared. The Illinois Bar Association issued a formal statement. After reviewing evidence provided by Ashford Analytics, we find that all ethics complaints against Richard Brennan were based on fabricated evidence. His license is posthumously reinstated, and his reputation fully restored. Maya stood at Richard's grave in Oak Wood Cemetery, the newspaper clutched in her hand. The headstone was simple. Richard James Brennan, 1964 to 2022, attorney and teacher. "We did it," she whispered. "Your name is clear. The people who destroyed you are facing justice. And the 47 others, they're getting compensation. Financial. Public acknowledgement. Everything you fought for." Lisa Chin appeared beside her, laying flowers on the grave. The EEOC settlement was approved this morning. Average payout, $847,000 per victim, plus counseling services, legal support, and job placement assistance. And Victoria, her trial starts in 3 months. Prosecutors are pushing for 15 years. Given the evidence, she'll take a plea deal. Lisa squeezed Maya's shoulder. "You did good, Maya. Richard would be proud." Maya touched the headstone, cold marble under her fingers. He shouldn't have had to die for this. None of them should have had to suffer. No, but because they did, and because you refused to let it stay buried, things are changing. Ashford Analytics is implementing industry-leading ethics protocols. 3 other tech companies have voluntarily started internal audits. You started something. The morning sun broke through Chicago's gray clouds, warming Maya's face. Justice wasn't perfect. Richard was still gone. Victoria's victims still carried scars. Jonathan's ignorance had enabled years of suffering. But the invisible people, the 47 employees, the service workers, the ones society trained everyone to overlook, they'd been seen, heard, vindicated. It was a start. 6 weeks later, Maya's new office had a view of Lake Michigan. Chief Ethics Officer of Ashford Analytics. The title still felt surreal. Annual salary, $385,000. Her mother's nursing home bills paid in full for the next 5 years. A team of 12 reporting directly to her with the power to investigate any department, any executive, any practice. "You hired the woman who tried to destroy your company," David Kim had said when Jonathan announced the decision. "I hired the woman who cared enough about justice to sacrifice everything for it," Jonathan had replied. "That's exactly who should oversee our ethical compliance." Maya had almost said no, The optics were complicated. Her colleagues questioned whether she'd sold out. But Lisa had put it in perspective. You can tear down buildings from the outside, or you can rebuild them from the inside. Both are necessary. You've done the first. Now do the second. Her first initiative, the Invisible Worker Project, a training program for service industry employees facing workplace harassment, discrimination, or abuse. Legal education, documentation training, pro bono attorney network, everything she'd wished existed when she'd first gone undercover. Rosa was the program's first graduate. Now she worked as a workplace advocate, helping other service workers understand their rights. 30 years I waited, Rosa had said at the program launch, tears streaming down her weathered face. 30 years of watching, documenting, hoping someone would care. And now we're teaching others to fight back. Media, this is everything. Maya's mother had good days and bad days. The Alzheimer's progressed, stealing more memories. But the new facility was clean, compassionate, and her mother's room overlooked a garden. On good days, she recognized Maya. On bad days, Maya held her hand and told her stories about Richard, about justice, about invisible people finally being seen. Jonathan kept his distance professionally. He'd moved into a strategy consulting role, advising the new CEO on ethical business practices. They passed in hallways, nodded politely, maintained professional boundaries. But once a month, they met for coffee, not as adversaries, not quite as friends, as two people who'd been broken by the same corrupt system and were trying to build something better from the ruins. "Do you forgive me?" he'd asked during their last meeting. Maya had considered the question carefully. "I forgive the VP who signed documents without understanding what he was enabling. I don't forgive the CEO who spent 18 months protecting his father's legacy over his victims. But I respect the man who finally chose right over easy. That's fair. It's honest. That's better than fair." Outside Maya's new office window, Chicago stretched toward the horizon. Somewhere in that city, invisible people were working jobs that didn't value them, enduring treatment they shouldn't have to endure, wondering if anyone cared. Maya opened her laptop and began drafting the next training module. She cared, and now she had the power to do something about it. 3 months later, the envelope arrived at Maya's office with no return address. Inside, a USB drive and a handwritten note. "Dr. Rodriguez, you exposed one company. There are 12 more operating the same way. Different industries. Same playbook. Data harvesting. Witness intimidation. NDA abuse. The files on this drive document everything. People are suffering. You're the only one who had the courage to fight before. Will you do it again?" A friend in the shadows. Maya plugged in the drive, her screen filled with folders. Meridian Pharmaceuticals, Bright Star Financial, Nexus Energy, Cascade Tech, 12 companies, hundreds of victims, years of systematic abuse. She thought about returning to normal life, thought about the comfortable salary, the manageable workload, the personal healing she still needed. Then she thought about Richard, about Rosa's 30-year wait, about every invisible person still suffering in silence. Maya picked up her phone and called Lisa Chin. "I need a legal team, a big one. We've got work to do." Maya Rodriguez's journey, from invisible waitress to corporate reformer, took 18 months of strategic patience. But here's what matters most. She didn't do it alone. Rosa documented for 30 years. Lisa Chin provided legal expertise pro bono. 47 former employees risked retaliation to give statements. Even Jonathan Ashford, once complicit in the system, chose redemption over protection. This story isn't about one hero. It's about an invisible army of people society trains us to overlook. Service workers, support staff, the people who keep the world running while powerful men take credit. I find these stories. I investigate them. I tell them. Because every single one of you has been underestimated. dismissed, treated like you're invisible. And I'm building a community that refuses to accept that lie. Drop below. What hidden skill do you have that would shock people who only see your job title? I read every single comment. One of you might be my next investigation. Like this video if you're Team Maya. Share it if you know someone who needs to hear the story. Welcome to the Invisible Army. We see it 1 year later. The nonprofit occupied a renovated warehouse in Chicago's West Loop, the Brennan Foundation for Worker Justice. Maya and Rosa stood in the training room, watching 20 service workers learn employment law, documentation strategies, and digital evidence gathering. Jonathan Ashford was there too, teaching a module on corporate whistleblower protections every Tuesday evening, unpaid, part of his ongoing redemption. Victoria Whitmore was serving an 18-month sentence in minimum security federal prison. Her lawyers were already working on early release. Some people never truly changed, but 47 victims had received compensation. Richard's name lived on in good work, and across Chicago, invisible workers were learning they had power. Maya picked up her coffee, served by a worker who knew her rights, who documented everything, who wouldn't be silent anymore. The revolution, it turned out, started with seeing